My thoughts are pretty bizarre sometimes. Good morning and welcome back to the channel. So the rain let up, so today's planned ride is taking me to LuLu Island. So on today's episode, I'm going to talk about the dikes of LuLu Island. So LuLu Island is better known as Richmond, BC. And Richmond takes up most of the island, but New Westminster does have a little part of the island. So this island was formed a long time ago, but it's basically formed from the sediment from the Fraser River. I'll show you on a map here. So the history I can find about LuLu Island, I can't find any history about the indigenous people that were here. I just don't have the right sources to find out that history. But the history I did find was the early European settlers. This might be too loud. Inside the Dees Island Tunnel, now known as the George Massey Tunnel. So I was out here about a year ago and I did a video then about the history of LuLu Island. But that one was basically about where did LuLu Island get its name from, and a little bit of the history about the fishing, the canneries that were around here. But this video is going to be more about the dikes and the flood protection because of recent events around here. So what I was able to find out is the early European settlers first came to this island back in around the 1860s. And they started farming here, but farming was very difficult at that time. But the land was so fertile they couldn't resist it. So for years they started developing the farms and building dikes around the farms. And then in 1879, the farmers here lobbied the lieutenant governor in order to list it as a municipality, and then they can start getting funding to build bridges and dikes and everything else in order to turn this into a community. That was around 1879, and it actually turned into a municipality 7 years before Vancouver did. So at that time, they started building dikes to protect the island. Now, the earliest picture I can find about dike construction was 1908, and I'll show you that picture right here. So LuLu Island is about 122 square kilometers in size, and I think that's about 47 square miles. And it's completely surrounded by a dike, and I'm on Dyke Road right now on the southeast side of the island. Now, LuLu Island's completely surrounded by dikes now for protection. And these dikes have been built over the years, starting in the 1800s, late 1800s. Now, what I was able to find out is there's roughly about 49 kilometers of dikes surrounding LuLu Island. And there's 39 pump stations that actually are used to keep the water level down on LuLu Island. So those 39 pump stations, what I was able to research is they have a maximum capacity of pumping out 1 million gallons. That's 1 million US gallons of water per minute is their maximum capacity. Now, LuLu Island is not under below sea level. I guess its average is about 5 meters above sea level, but on the eastern side, there's some areas of the island that are below historical flood freshets. Now, what's a freshet? You know, I had to look that up. That's actually historical levels from floods from the river or from snowfall, and they keep track of maximum levels. So they try and maintain the dike height. Now I have a map of the levels of the elevations of the dike, and you can see the river's getting pretty close. It's anywhere from 3.2 meters up to 4.4 meters or something like that is the elevation of the dikes that surround LuLu Island here. So the city of Richmond does have a master flood management plan, and I think they have something like 560 some odd kilometers of drainage pipe on the island, and they also got like 60 or 61 kilometers of box drains using at these 39 pump stations to keep the water level managed. So I guess the flood plan works quite well, and they keep on updating it all the time based on history and what happens. So there was 3 flood events that happened here. I think it was 1894, 1948 and 1972, and that's where they base some of their data on. So without all these dikes and pumping stations and everything they do in the flood management plan here, they say that much of Richmond would flood quite often, especially with these seasonal events. So that's what they do to protect LuLu Island. The next thing I'm going to talk about is what if. And I had something that I wondered about back to my days when I did construction on the island here. Looks like there's one of the pumping stations. So I'm now here by number 7 road in Richmond on the north side of the island, and this is River Road. So this is the north dike system that surrounds LuLu Island. So from some stuff that I remember when I was getting trained and working construction in Richmond in the 1990s, we used to have to get trained on earthquake restraint systems and earthquake preparedness. So my question is, or my thought today, what if we got hit by an earthquake? What would happen to these dikes? And this is just something I don't know, but I just wonder, and I've wondered about that a few times. So I'm going to get back on the bike here, but I'm going to show you a map of some seismic activity that they've recorded on the west coast here, and we're very close in Vancouver to a fault line, and that's the fault line of the Juan de Fuca plate and the Pacific plate. And the 2 of those plates on this fault line is where they actually come apart. Now the Juan de Fuca plate goes underneath the North American plate, and hence the seismic activity. Since that fault line's only 280 kilometers west of us in the ocean, this is a major risk for getting earthquakes in the lower mainland. So what if an earthquake happened? What would happen to LuLu Island? So let's get back on the bike and I'll tell you what I think. My thoughts are pretty bizarre sometimes. So the reason why I ask what if an earthquake happened, what would happen to these dikes? And the reason why I ask that is because on the recent floods that we had in the Sumas Valley, 2 of the dikes were breached, which created quite a problem there. Now I read in some newspaper reports and online that there was actually warnings out that there was weak points and failure points in these dike systems, and one of the consultants actually warned about the ones that did break in that area. So I always wondered, what about this area? So anyhow, I'm not a doomsday theorist or anybody like that. It's just a what if. And what I do know about LuLu Island is it's considered a soft soil base, especially on the east side. I think the high risk areas are in the center and on the east side of the island. And being a soft soil base, mainly of silt from the river, that if an earthquake ever happened, they have this theory about liquefaction, where because of the shaking and the soft soil and the water all around, it would basically just turn to quicksand. So I know there's a lot of people out there way smarter than me, but in my mind, the way it operates sometimes, I just wonder. And with everything in the news about those 2 dikes that breached out in Sumas Valley, and this whole island is surrounded by dikes, and it's a high risk for earthquake, and the soft soil condition that this island has, I just always wonder what happens if one of these dikes has a weak point and fails during an earthquake and liquefaction happens. What would happen to this island? Things that make you go, Anyhow, that's just the way my mind works sometimes. Time to get back home. I hope you enjoyed this video. Well, take care and stay dry. I won't.